breathe in again. Today, at the JavaScript conference, we have learnt a lot about JavaScript and about things like the frameworks, about using the DOM, WebGL, and a lot of knowledge about JavaScript. And to make it more useful for you, I can tell you how you can use those HTML and JavaScript to make native application on your phone. If you have iPhone or Android phone or BlackBerry or Windows or Palm, if anyone has Palm, you can create a mobile application using HTML, JavaScript, and you compile it to create native apps. So that is what we'll be learning in this presentation. So we talk about PhoneGap. It's an online tool created by Adobe, who makes Photoshop and such software. And they have an API for the mobile platform. It's called PhoneGap.js. And it's a compiler that's in the cloud. And you go to the website, you upload the zip file, and it creates the APK and the iOS files for you to download onto your phone. And to use it, you create a responsive web page, and this responsive web page becomes a native mobile application. It's super easy. And so what you do is you begin CSS, HTML, JavaScript, put it inside the zip file, upload it, and it becomes any application. How does it work? You have your UI layer, which is HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and your business logic. So you have a custom JavaScript file to create animation or to click on buttons or events and such things. And you've got PhoneGap.js, which is access for phone API, for camera, for the file system, for the GPS system, accelerometer, and such access. And if you know how to write HTML and JavaScript, you know how to write mobile phone applications. It's very simple. In my demo application, I have 50 lines of HTML, which is your header, some JavaScript declaration, 4 divs, and 2 CSS tags. In my JavaScript, I only have 50 lines of JavaScript. And you can use many different libraries, your jQuery, your Kenzo, Ignite UI, Zepto, or Twitter Bootstrap. So if you're currently using a JavaScript library like Raphael or D3, you can also use it in PhoneGap as well to compile it. This is how the application looks in a browser. It's just a normal web application. Play button, stop button, and there's a song. Here, this is a phone emulator for Chrome. It's a Chrome extension called Ripple, and it allows you to simulate different phones, also for viewing resolution. So I remember if Tanya is here, where she was testing applications, web applications, and you want to know if your website can be used on some phones and how it will look. You can use Ripple to look at the resolution, and it will change, from 5-inch screen to a 7-inch screen or tablet size and such things. So it supports many different types of phones, from your iPhone, Android phones, iPads, and tablets. And it also simulates accelerometer data. So if you have like GPS and those sort of things, and I'll show you as well those things. And even when you deploy it on your Android onto my phone, you can see it looks exactly the same as it looks on the browser. So it renders correctly. How does PhoneGap work? The workflow for it. So you have your code base, which is like your web folder. You have your JavaScript folder, your CSS folder, and one HTML file, which is your main index HTML file. And that will contain your divs. You can then have PhoneGap plugins. So if you want to do off authentication, like if you want to authenticate to VK or to Twitter or to Facebook, they have plugins that you can put inside the application to automatically do that for you. And then PhoneGap.build is the cloud service that does the compiling, and it will compile it and then it will give you the code. Yeah, so as I said, you can use many libraries. You can use PhoneGap for the phone controls. And very important, you only write one code and it works for 7 platforms. So it works for your Apple, Android, and all the other ones. And it's good because your web development workflow works for mobile application development. So if you use Chrome and the Chrome developer tools, or Firebug, or any of those things, you can use that also for your mobile application development. Even testing, if you use JavaScript testing tools to automate your testing, you can do that here as well. Some limitations is the user interface is not going to be 100% like a native application. If you were to use Objective-C or to use Java, it would be more better UI, but it's very little difference. And PhoneGap is still being developed, so there's still work being done. But it's developed by Adobe, and Adobe is a very big company, so obviously they have a lot of development to do. Code demonstration. I'm going to do this one because we don't have much time. So basically, in my first presentation, I showed you about the graphics and the graphics library. And what we're going to do here is the same web page, but now in mobile, using a mobile website. So I have here, if you guys remember this, and it was that we did this demo a few minutes ago. If I want to debug it in using a mobile phone emulator, we use Ripple, which is a Chrome extension, and we enable it. And what this does is it gives us the information. So here we have like accelerometer information. You can see speed. Here we have geolocation for GPS data. So I can say, where I am. And you can even do GPS files. You can even do like your Wi-Fi if your connection is slow or fast, if you want like Wi-Fi or 3G connectivity, and also phone events like device rating. So yeah, it's very easy. Here you got your different platforms. So you know, iPad, iPad 3, Nexus, HTC, Blackberries. There's many different types so you can use, and they also have generic ones. So if you have your own resolution you want to test this on, you can use to test your website. So Ripple's really cool, and so we've turned on Ripple. I'll turn this on. And so this is how my application will look on an iPad. And I'll show you how it will look. So you can see, yes?
Can you tell this meaning required API level for Android devices to use this?
Which versions?
Android are supported? Yes.
All.
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 Since?
Mostly. I'll have to check the PhoneGap documentation. But PhoneGap uses WebView, and WebView is used by iOS, by Android, and it's basically a web browser. So PhoneGap will compile it to a web browser, which is like to wrap your application.
And maybe it works on BlackBerry 4.2.
Yes, it does. And good question, because the app I will demo to you, there's two applications. One is in production, and you can download it from BlackBerry Store and from the Android Store. And they won second prize in the BlackBerry Asia Pacific Startup Conference with this application. So yeah, they use PhoneGap to do it. So it's yeah, really cool. Yes, cool. I'll continue. So you can see this bar chart is not scaled properly, and that's because we haven't added code to scale the SVG image correctly. But what you can do is you can scroll down and it looks fine. And you can still do all your basic JavaScript things. So if you guys like. So it works exactly the same as it does on your browser, and it works the same on here as well. And it's all just HTML and JavaScript, so it's really simple to create and use. As well as like your graphics UI, you also can use jQuery. Your jQuery UI, and jQuery UI gives you like native user interface experience. So here this looks how it would look on your Apple phone or on your Android phone, and if you type like, so if you scroll down, you can see, and if you type, it actually does the filtering for you. It's a little bit buggy, but I didn't have much time to do this. But you can see how it looks exactly like it does on your phone. Yes. Now, this is an emulator. Obviously, it doesn't show you what happens with PhoneGap. So what you can do is I will show you. PhoneGap. So it's you go to build.phonegap.com. And from here, what you do is you upload the code file. So in this case, the code file is here. And you upload it. And hopefully it works. And what it does is it creates a QR code for you to scan on your phone. So if you want to check out my application now, you can actually use your phone and download it. And it downloads it for iOS, Android, Windows, BlackBerry, Palm, and I don't know what that is, but yeah. So yeah, it downloads everything, and you can just from here download the APK files, ZAP files, or whatever it is that you need. And it's as simple as that. Now to show you how it works, we go to the configuration file. So to configure your application, to give it a name, and such things, you just use a basic XML file called config.xml, and it tells you where you can put your name, description, the author. For your phone, you have some permissions that you need to give. So if you need access to the camera, then you need to tell the user to give you access to the camera when you install the application. And there's different permissions that you can have. There's also places to put your plugins and where to install it, and those things as well. So yes, that is the configuration file. And so for 100 lines of code, so 50 of HTML, 50 JavaScript, you can build yourself a application like this. So this is the application. It's running on my phone.
Great.
He likes it. And yeah, so that's the load-in screen, and then you can see there it is. And all the usual user experience works the same. So I press on that one on where I come from, and it shows that's. And then go to Raphael, and same. I can drag the object and move it around. Let's see. It's a lot smoother on the phone. It's just this screenshot thing is not showing correctly, but it drags and drops very smoothly. Graphs, again, it's a graphs. I won't make it dance this time, but you can.
Why is the moving so slow?
Huh?
Why is the moving so slow?
This is just the screenshot application that's off. But on my phone itself, if you look. Let's see. Faster. It's faster. Yeah, and it's also got the sliding animation up and down. And here, if I do the same, so I type sky. Does the same thing. And so that's what it shows on your phone. So, stay where you are. What I can do is yeah, so that's how it. Now you can watch this. So yeah, so that's PhoneGap as an application. It's super easy. It's just one HTML file, all the JavaScript files that you import in, and away you go. And actually, I can show you the HTML file. Yeah. So yeah, so yeah, you just got your basic your header, your app onload, your div, and then your footer. And you've just got your different libraries that you added to the bottom. And that's it. So, job for you.
So you can use any kinds of JavaScript libraries and it will work like in graph.
Yes. Yes. I say I'm not super confident. Of course, you have to test it. But with just about everything we tested, we did the Raphael, we did D3, we did jQuery, UI Mobile. All of it seems to work. And the reason is the PhoneGap uses the WebView API wrapper, which is accessible on all phones.
And it's absolutely free.
Yes. With PhoneGap, you're allowed one application to test and to use for yourself when you sign up. And if you're a company and you want to create your own applications, you can buy and you can have, of course, as many as you want. Yes. At the back?
So, PhoneGap is actually called Apache Portal.
Yes.
It wasn't developed by Adobe, it was bought by Adobe about 1 year ago.
Correct.
And it is a standalone application, it isn't only a cloud-based solution. So if you're developing on Android, you can easily integrate it with Eclipse, so you can debug it on the real device.
Yes.
So I saw you're using like jQuery mobile library, and the animations there are really sucks. So you have mentioned that there is also the essential batch library, like based on XJS.
Actually,
and the animations there are really awesome.
yes. You are very, very correct. There are. I don't know if it's here. Yes, but there's Sencha, Kendo, and there's a huge amount of different UI libraries that you can use with this. And yeah.
Nowadays, it's the only solution to have like smooth animations.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where native code can be a bit better than your JavaScript code. Is that it's a lot smoother than with JS. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. And yes, PhoneGap has also native code libraries we can develop in Eclipse if you're doing Android, if you're using Xcode for iOS. So yeah, cool. Any more questions?
If we compare one more time, this technology with native technology Java, it's really useful. So what's the difference between weight and speed of applications?
I think native will be faster. When we use
but many times. So someone use this technology on real product.
yes. I didn't demo this. I should demo this. 1 minute. The application that is currently being used, and if you go to the PhoneGap website, you'll see a whole bunch of applications being developed. One of them is this one. It's called Melbourne Transport, and it's an application that will search the timetable in Melbourne for the trains, the buses, the trams, to find out which trams are near you. So you can search. And it uses jQuery, Ajax, and JSON to go to the backend server, get the data, and to bring it back. And the thing about when you develop with PhoneGap, you can use your own custom backend server to do the data and to give it back to the UI. So using your client server type architecture. And so you can. So yeah, so now you can see that. Put it sideways. So you can see it does back in and out. It's not as fast as native apps because it has to go all the way to the server and then come back again with the information. And with your native apps you don't. But you can use the PhoneGap local storage, and you can actually keep local files as well and asset files. So if you want, you can upload an MP3 in the PhoneGap package, so you can play music and it's instant, or you can stream music off the internet if you want to do it that way.
Can I ask something?
Yes.
What technologies or tools do you suggest to use to test those applications?
Good question. Of course, your native devices, so you should have always a phone with you. But you can also use your standard web toolkit. So if you Firefox, Firebug, Chrome, developer tools, and you just do your standard HTML and jQuery application development.
Selenium also can?
Yes, and I think with PhoneGap there was one application, and they use, I think it's RSpec or some spec, which will automate the thing. So yeah, if you search online, you can do automated testing for your mobile phone application. And what's easy is, if you have two devices, Apple and Android, you only write one test case. Whereas if you had native apps, you have to write one for Objective-C and then one for Java.
And it can be run in the emulator?
Yes, yes, it runs in the emulator. It creates the APK file or the iOS file, and you can load it into your native emulator. So it runs it as native code. Yeah, it is native code. Yeah. Cool. Any more?
Can we send the
Sorry, can you say again?
can we send the XShare request, the Ajax request for any size?
Yes. Limited by HTTP the HTTP limits. So you can send all your GET and POST requests, and it does it for you as well. It also does OAuth. So there's a plugin if you want to authenticate with Contact or with Facebook. You can use Ajax to do that. Yep. So anything you can do in JavaScript and HTML, you can do it in PhoneGap, with PhoneGap.
And it normally works with camera and GPS.
Yes. So yeah, if you search online, there is code that will show you how you can do that. Don't know if I can quickly show. Yeah. Yeah, so you got your accelerometer here, and this data here is accessible by the PhoneGap API. So if you go to the Any more questions?
So, it was later, probably I haven't heard. Simple question. What type of license PhoneGap is spread under?
Open source, I think. Yes, it's one of the, it could be OpenGPL, but yeah, check. But yes, it is open source. It's managed by Adobe, but if you want to write your own code to plug into it, you can do that.
Does it support SVN version?
SVN?
SVN.
Oh, it has Git integration. So if you write your project and store it as Git, it can take from the Git repository automatically and build and compile it. So it's a file from Git.
When I can find one?
Now, it's you can use it. Yeah.
Is there any standardized interface for working with camera, GPS, or you must include different interfaces for different phones?
It's one interface. So if you have a camera interface, it's just camera dot whatever, and it plays it for all types of phones. And that's just why it's so useful. Is you only write one code. You don't have to write for, like if you have two phones, you don't have to write for two. You just write one, and it compiles it for each different one. They use because it's a compiler. It says right if you are compiling for Android, we use this backend code, and it will do the translation for you. If you're compiling for Apple, then it does the translation for Apple. Yeah. So it's very smart. Cool. Any more? I was going to show you the API.
One question.
Yeah.
Does it support all browser technologies? I mean, like WebGL, WebSQL, web databases?
Good question. I think yes. You can upload your own database. It can be file database or like a JSON or yeah, a JSON object database.
You can use all our regular databases which can be directed to HTTP, I understand. But then new technology support browsers.
Yes.
Besides WebGL, does it support all of this? Because it's only an emulator of browsers and it cannot support all.
I think it supports, I don't know if it supports local databases. I'll have to check that.
I think that it depends on the code. If the code's native browser can support, like SQLite or something like that, then this thing can support. But it depends on the code, I think. Because this thing basically is just a bundle browser plus some API for using camera, accelerometer, it contains your HTML. It opens the browser plus some.
So here what I've shown is you've got your accelerometer data. So it shows your x, your y, your z, and the timestamp. And that is the same as down here. So x is 3.63, here it's 3.07. Y is 4.76, there it's 4.85. So it's close enough to the actual values. So yeah,
Are there any analysis of this kind of platform, like Titanium or it's another?
Titanium and some of the other ones, they give you like the API, but then I don't know. I'm not too familiar with Titanium, but I believe it doesn't do the build for you. You have to do it yourself. For us, I've used PhoneGap for over a year now, and for me, it's very simple.
It's like for making simple applications which don't need a lot of processing some data, just simplification.
True. For us, we use it as a user interface, and then we have like backend servers in the cloud that will do all the processing. You can also use it as a user interface, plus like you can download files and put it on the file system, and then you can play those files. So yeah, it's not data intensive. You cannot really create it for playing games, I think, or to do like data processing. At the back, was there one more? Yeah. Any more? Go on. Done? Finished? Thank you.
Did I ever tell you about the time I was a secret agent? Looky here, boy, I got me some fancy gadgets.